this evening with showers tonight, low 43. Cloudy tomorrow, high 46. Midweek, sunshines in the forecast, mid-40s. Richard Duettig at the Weather Channel.
You're up to date with the latest weather forecast right here on the ESPN Radio Network. This is a proud presentation of Southeast Missouri's ESPN Radio Sports Network. Live in the studio. It's time for the Red Hawks Coaches Show. Live from Wings, etc. Hear the Coaches Show each week on SEMO ESPN 1220 and also at SEMOESPN.com and the SEMO ESPN app. Also, watch the Red Hawks Coaches Show webcast live at SEMOESPN.com. Now, let's go live to Wings, etc. for the Red Hawks Coaches Show.
Welcome in to another edition of the Red Hawks Coaches Show. We are at Wings, etc. in the Jackson location. This is a Jackson week, so we invite you to stop by. We've got seats available. We are in the banquet room. So when you walk in the front door here at Wings, just hang a right and come on back and join us for lunch. Don't forget their daily half-pound lunch specials start at just $7.99. That's half-pound lunch special starting at just $7.99, and you can enjoy their jumbo award-winning wings, which on Mondays are just 69 cents. And if you're not in the mood for wings, they have an extensive menu here at Wings, etc. That includes their burger section, their freshly made burgers. They have wraps, subs, quesadillas, entree salads, smoked ribs, and much more. If you want to check out their appetizer lineup, check out the Ultimate Nachos. They also have deep-fried pickle spears. It is Wings, etc. Good food, great times. We're in the Jackson location. We're going to talk with Brady Barkey, the athletics director, a little bit later on in the show. Toward the end, he is just walking in the door as we speak. So we'll talk with the SEMO AD, Brady Barkey, coming up. And also, we want to remind you, next week will be our final basketball coaches show, and that'll be in the Cape location. Then we'll take a little bit of a hiatus, and then we'll get back at it. We'll let you know when for the spring sports coaches show. And we're going to be talking Red Hawks basketball with assistant coach Keith Pickens, who by virtue of a influenza diagnosis for Coach Rick Ray, all of a sudden you step in and you're the acting head coach. How much did that take you by surprise when it happened?
Well, thanks for having me. Sorry my voice is a little raspy coming over cold, but I got the information Wednesday.
Right.
And Coach let us know he wasn't sick. Then I got a call from Brady. He let me know I was next, and I'd be taking over the calling duties for the games. And so instantly, I hadn't watched any UT Martin. So when you got a scout, it was Coach Crump's scout. So I had to go back and watch because I was preparing for my next scout. That's how we do it game by game. So I hadn't watched any UT Martin. So I had to go back and Wednesday night and Thursday before the game, watch a bunch of film on UT Martin so I can have a comfort level with what they were doing and that I can see it from my own eyes and not just from Crump's or Coach Ray's from what they've watched. I was able to get it from my own eyes, and I wanted to make sure I was confident. That way I can instill the confidence in our players that I had and it would deliver for them.
So when you tell everybody, okay, hey, it was Coach Crump's scout. Now, you put together scouting reports. Take us through that. What is that like, and how does that go on a game-by-game basis? Because of all the assistants, you are working on an opponent that may be 2 games out. What exactly does a scouting report look like that you put together?
Well, you watch, 3 to 5 games. You always want to watch the last game you played against them. But for this one, we hadn't played them, so everything was new. But you want to get as much information as you can leading up into the game. That way you're able to deliver that information to Coach Ray. And then now Coach Ray sees it with his eyes, and now you have two heads working on it. And then now you have to deliver the information to the players. What are they running? How are they guarding this? The personnel is the big part for us. We like to focus in on the detail, like, okay, this player likes to go right and come left on a spin move. We want to be there on the spin move, especially if it's something that he really gets to. So you want to get really detailed in it. You want to watch a lot of film because players watch everything. And if we have a scout and we're out there giving them information, we better be certain, we better be confident in delivering it to the players, because if we're not, they're going to pick that. They're going to talk amongst each other and say, hey, coach is not, you want to make sure you give them the most accurate information in a timely fashion that you can.
Okay, now let's say that we'll just pick Skylar Hogan, for example. He's one of the seniors. Say Skylar Hogan wants to get a look at UT Martin. Does he have access to go in and watch video?
For us, we don't have the, some you can get the synergy programs where you can put on the iPads and they can take it on the fly with them, but we don't have that service. But for us, like for Skylar, he would have to, hey, Coach Crump, really want to know what they're doing here, how I can get shots. He can come in and have an individual film session. He can ask to watch. He can always ask to watch more film, or he can just pick our brains and we can talk about it one-on-one. But we don't have the access to, have the film on the fly. But we, like for our games, after we play, we upload it on Google Drive, so now they can go back and look at themselves play, and they can have an opinion before we give them our opinion.
So you play on Saturday. You know you don't have to play UT Martin until Thursday. When did you find out? When was Coach Ray's diagnosis? Take us through that, because the doctor said, hey, Coach Ray, you can't have any contact with anybody for the next, I don't know how many days.
Yeah, it was Wednesday.
Okay.
We got a text from Coach around 1 or 2, and then I got a call from Brady around maybe 3 or 4, and at that point I just had to click it into gear, and I had to be ready to go.
Now, with you not having prepared for UT Martin, explain how unique UT Martin is from the other 11 teams in the Ohio Valley Conference because of the defense that they run that nobody else runs.
Yeah, so they run a matchup zone, and they kind of change defenses between that and the man. So sometimes you think you're looking at a matchup zone, but it's a man-to-man. Sometimes you think it's a man-to-man, and hey, they stay in the area, and it's very unique, but had to rely on what we do. You didn't have to change anything. We have stuff in place for that, but we just had to make sure that the players were very confident in what they were doing, and they believed in what they were doing. So that was the big thing for us.
And it's one of those scenarios where you don't run a traditional zone offense against a matchup zone, right?
Correct. We run our same stuff. I mean, we have a zone offense in play, but we like to come out of the gate and run our regular offense. We may tweak a few things per game, but we like to try to keep it consistent so our players can know what's going on and they have that confidence.
Well, you come out and you are trailing by 10 at halftime. You shoot 44% in the first half, which is a decent number. But the difference is UT Martin shoots 61% from the floor in the first half. They go 6 of 9 from 3 and 9 of 10 from the free throw line. It's almost physically impossible to shoot any higher numbers in any of those categories, field goal, three-point, free throw, than UT Martin did in that first half. You're probably lucky you're only down 10, right?
Right. Looking at the numbers, you say, man, only down 10, you have a chance. And for us, the calmness, we had to go into the locker room at half, and I wanted to make sure we made the players feel like, hey, we're in a good position. We're confident that we can come back in this game. We understand what we're up against, what we have to do, the adjustments we have to make. But they believe they never wavered the entire game, as you see down the stretch of the game. But so it was important that we went into the locker room, that we didn't lose our minds, that we weren't emotionally unstable. We just had to be even keeled, stay the course, and I think that bled over into the players. And as the game got tight down the stretch, that same even keel mindset that we had, they were able to display that to finish the game.
Did you win this game on the defensive end because they scored 43 in the first half and shot 61%? In the second half, they scored 29 and only shot 32% from the field. It sounds to me like on defense is where this game was won.
Right. Defense was huge for us in the second half, and we knew it had to be. But, I mean, if you look at some of the plays we made late, Alex Caldwell making 2 big threes down the stretch. Offense had a factor, but the game was won with a defensive play. DQ and Alex, they attack the ball. We get a steal. Skylar lays it up. I mean, that's defense leading the offense. So anytime the team has a defensive mindset first, offense is typically going to work itself out.
Keith Pickens, the assistant coach for Southeast Missouri State, is our guest. We're going to be talking with Athletics Director Brady Barkey. Redhawks sweep the weekend, knocking off UT Martin and SIU Edwardsville in close games, Coach, because your track record this year in close games, it hasn't worked out. I mean, you had the lead at Drake. It ends up being a close game. They find a way to pull it out. Tennessee State, they find a way to pull it out. Murray State, and I mean, the list goes on and on of these games, Eastern Illinois, where you've got an opportunity maybe to get a shot away and win the game or find a way to win the game down the stretch. What was different about these two tight games?
I think the level of communication, the composure they had, I think it helped. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't too high or too low on the sideline, even like through turnovers and mistakes. I wanted to make sure that I kept a calm demeanor about me, because then I thought that would help the players have their confidence and their composure. And late in these games, we were able to make plays because they were confident, they were composed, and they believed that they could make those plays because they're capable. We have very talented players that can make big time plays, and they just have to remain calm, and they can do anything.
You talk about having confidence. Is there anyone that has more confidence on the roster than Alex Caldwell?
No, Alex is a very, very confident person. He's confident in his ability. I mean, this weekend, we tell Alex all the time, when you're locked in and you're ready to go and you're focused, the Red Hawks are locked in and ready to go, and they're focused. So it was big for him, and just give him ownership to allow him to make some play calls, and for him to kind of run shoot around a little bit with his voice. I think it made him feel like he was in charge a little bit, and for him I thought that helped him. It gave him a little bit more confidence, and like you said, he already has the confidence to take any shot because he knows he can make it. And we tell him, hey, you have the ability to do anything, but you have to be locked in, and you have to show everybody else that you care.
One of the leaders on the team is Skylar Hogan. There's no question he's playing his best basketball, Coach, right? 21 points, 7 of 15 from the field, 4 of 11 in the UT Martin game. Also 5 rebounds in the game for Skylar Hogan, and he never left the floor. 40 minutes, along with Alex Caldwell. They played 40 minutes. Who's the head coach grinding these guys to dust 40 minutes? We knew – UT Martin's a winnable game, and Skylar was playing really, really well. And we were down a man. Jordan Love was sick. So you already knew your numbers were in a bind. But I just felt like Skylar was playing with such confidence. He was playing with so much care. He was being a senior. Like, he was talking to others. He's pointing others in the right direction. He was always in the right place at the right time. And when Skylar's like that, you have no choice but to continue to play him. And, he played 40 Thursday and 38 on Saturday. That's a lot of minutes. Have you seen any change in him? Because you're a father, and we'll talk more about that as we go along. But Skylar Hogan's a father now. They've got a newborn. Do you see any change in him from prior to being a dad to now that he's a dad?
Yeah, he understands the moment. Like, he understands what's next is so important. But just for him, he scaled back this weekend, and he just kind of focused in the moment. And I think it was big for him. He wasn't worried about, all right, I got to make sure I'm providing for my family and this and that in a couple months. He was in the moment. He was enjoying the moment. And, for him, I think it's just been really good that he sees both sides of it now. And, he has to go home every night and make sure he's taking care of his baby, feeding the baby, playing with his baby and things like that. And obviously he has a lovely girlfriend who helps him out, and she does a heck of a job, with the baby.
Well, she was a point guard, so she's running the show,
exactly.
Right?
She's still running the show.
Adriana Murphy. Sage Tolbert in the Martin game, 16 points, 9 rebounds. That you need him to be a man. He was a man against UT Martin.
Yes, Sage he's capable of doing it all, and just continuing to challenge him to his role and being who he is. When he's locked in like that, he's been about as focused as anybody the last couple of weeks for our team, and he has a voice. He's starting to carry. He's starting to hear. He's starting to feel it more. He's starting to want to give it more. So now Sage did have 2 technicals that almost costed us, especially Saturday, but. His technical fouls were based off pure emotion in the moment, and obviously you want to be able to bottle that up. And for him, he wasn't, and we were able to get over the hump. And you just tell him, hey, you're too important to the team, because Saturday, one of his technical fouls gave him his 4th foul with about 7 or 8 minutes to go, so we had to sit him until the under 4 media. And it's just like, hey, you're just too important to have those mistakes. But I love your passion. I love your energy. I love your aggression. But we have to scale back because you're so important to this team.
How different is it, and has it been for you you've been the assistant, you've got a certain defined role on the bench during a game to all of a sudden now you're the guy up walking around and pacing and having conversations with the officials and making the calls and, putting players in and out of the game. How different was that for you? And was there ever a time you're on the sideline and, wait a minute, I'm running the show tonight?
Yeah, it was kind of a surreal moment. Obviously, it's something you dream about. Like I'm an assistant coach. I one day want to be a head coach of my own program. And, I started off as my first time. I was like, I got to find my comfort zone. I want to be myself. I know, obviously, I work for Coach Ray. He does a heck of a job helping me out and building. But I knew I had to be myself. And I had to find my balance. Do I want to stand up? Do I want to sit? Like, just the balance of, where I want to be and when. And then within that, understanding the players are watching me. So they have to see confidence. They have to see, that I believe. They have to see that, I'm ready to make that play call or do what I have to do to help them win. And the relationship part it takes care of itself. Having a great relationship with all of them as an assistant like you do, that they believe in you. And, Skylar texted me Wednesday night. He said, man, Coach, happy for you. Get this opportunity. He said, we're going to make sure we get these 2 wins. And that's what he told me. And I was like, Skylar, man, hey, let's do what you got to do. Play hard. Let's have some fun. And he did. So it was big time. But just being thrown into it, like I said, I had to find my comfort zone of where I wanted to be and how I wanted to, maneuver up back and forth.
Redhawks were down by 13 points against UT Martin, came back and won the game 74-72. 4 players in double figures. Skylar Hogan, 21, 16 and 9 for Sage Tolbert, 14 for Alex Caldwell, including 3 big three-pointers. And then Quatarius Wilson, 12 points, 7 rebounds. And then Wilson, a driving force in the win, Coach, over SIU Edwardsville on Saturday. 13 points, 9 rebounds, a block shot, and assist. Did not have a turnover. 2 personal fouls at the end of a game for Quatarius Wilson. Is this the guy right now, the way that Q is playing right now, is this the guy you thought, yeah, this is the guy we're getting from McNeese State that led the Southland Conference in rebounding, that led the Southland Conference in double-doubles? This is the guy you probably thought you were getting when he transferred, right?
Correct. And the big thing for him Saturday, he was able to step up to the free throw line and knock him down. He was 9 of 10. But yeah, Q, when he played so hard. Like when you play that hard, rebounding typically translate from any level, from this level to where he was at McNeese to the next level. But within that, you have to play hard. And Q played hard. Like 34 minutes may have been the most minutes he's played all season.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
So he was ready for the moment. He was locked in. He was in tune, and he was having fun. So I was very happy for Q. I called him after the game Saturday, and I said, hey, man, just extremely happy for you. I know the season hasn't gone like you wanted it to, but just proud of you for not giving in. And I say, we got 4 more to go. You have to continue with this same mindset, this same pace, and we may get a chance to squeak into the OVC tournament.
So, for those who don't know your background, you played for Conzo Martin at Missouri State University. What was that like? Conzo's Missouri Tigers just had a big win over 11th-ranked Auburn over the weekend. What was it like playing for Conzo Martin in Springfield, Missouri?
Oh, it was great. I mean, 2 years, I felt like I was shorted, but I understood he left for a better job. And I learned so much from him in such a short time. He taught me a lot of life values, a lot of things that have helped me become a better coach, a better man, a better husband, a better father. Like all of those things that he was able to still because every day when you listen to Coach Martin speak, it's rarely about basketball. It's rarely about basketball. Now within the game, obviously it is, but outside of that, he's constantly asking you how your family's doing. He's constantly trying to, pick your brain to see, how you really are mentally, because he truly cares for each individual. And I mean, you get to a point where you feel like you want to run through a wall for Coach Martin. That's just what type of coach he is. And obviously you see what he did against Auburn. I mean, those guys, they're going to, no matter how much Mizzou struggles, they're always going to play hard because Coach Martin is a big-time leader, and he can get you to do things that you don't think you're capable of. And obviously within coaching, that's a big deal. And so he texted me after the game Thursday. He said, congrats, good job leading the troops. I saw that you were, the head coach for the day. And I texted him Saturday and said, hey, Coach, good job, big-time win. Just always in communication with him. He's continuing to help me out at this point in my life and my career. Forever thankful of Coach Martin.
Assistant Coach Keith Pickens, our guest here on the Coaches Show. We're at the Jackson Wings Etc. location. And so after Konzo takes the job at the University of Tennessee and moves on to Knoxville, then it's Paul Lusk, who I saw play when he was a player for the Salukis over at Southern Illinois a long time ago. Paul Lusk comes in. How much of a transition was that for you as a player? The guy that recruited you and then that you'd played for 2 years, and then all of a sudden a guy you probably didn't even know is now your head coach.
Right. So for me, I remember being sophomore year, Coach Martin had just left, and I called Coach Martin. He was Tennessee getting settled, and I was like, "Hey, Coach, I'm thinking about leaving. I don't know what's next for me with you leaving and this and that." But I think all along, Coach Martin knew Paul Lusk was gonna get the job because I remember him telling me, he's like, "KP, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be in good hands." And when he told me that, and then Coach Lusk was announced as a coach, and I got to know him, spend some time with him, I soon realized that I was in really good hands. They worked together at Purdue, and so he came over after. But Coach Lusk, he was. Couldn't have been a better person to take over to help me, become who I am. And to this day, I stay in contact with him. He did a lot of great things for me as a player, as a GA, as a coach. A lot of things that he's taught me, and obviously now he's at Creighton, and they're doing a heck of a job.
Now, when you say GA, for those, he brought you on. This is how good your relationship became with Paul Lusk. He brought you on as a graduate assistant, and that's what launched your ability to be a coach at Division I, because it's tough to get into the coaching ranks at the highest level, and the highest level is Division I.
Yeah, forever grateful. See, when I was at Missouri State, my entire playing career, we had never had a graduate assistant. There was never a graduate assistant around. And so when my playing career ended, he maneuvered to make sure that position was available. And it was privately funded. It was all of that, and he made sure it happened for me, and there was no question about it. He never had doubt about it. He did it. He told me, he said, "The only thing I'll tell you is you have to give me a 1-year commitment," because he didn't want me to start it. And I was, "Coach, if you give me this opportunity, I'm finishing this thing out. I'm getting my graduate degree, and I'm going to continue in coaching because that's what I want to do. This is what I'm here for." So he gave me that opportunity, and I'm forever blessed.
And you see how these small coaching circles go. Konzo Martin is with Matt Painter at Purdue. Paul Lusk is with Konzo Martin and Matt Painter at Purdue. Rick Ray was also on that coaching staff, and that's the tie-in.
Right, correct. It's unbelievable when you look at it, and you look at Coach Crump. He played at Purdue, and Coach Ray was an assistant coach at the time, and now he's here. So the family ties is very important. You want to make sure you keep those relationships strong and steady. Those relationships will get you where you want to get in this business. It's all based off relationships, knowing the right people, and obviously doing the right things and being a good person.
Well, I remember playing over at Missouri State when you were a player, and that was where you and I were talking. Antonius Cleveland's freshman year, Jerikas Bradley was on that team. I think Tyler Stone, Nino Johnson. They had some dudes on that team for Dickie Nutt. Down 20 at one stretch, I think maybe at halftime, SEMO comes all the way back. Jerikas Bradley hits a shot with I don't know how many seconds left to tie it. And then I don't even know who was your guy that banked in a 30-footer at the buzzer. Who was that guy?
Dorian Williams. That was a heck of a game. SEMO was really, really talented, and we had him down 20. We were feeling good. We kind of let our foot off the gas a little bit, but just knew that they were going to make a run. Well coached, like I said, very talented, but we got the better end of the stick.
You think about that. Antonius Cleveland, who has played in the NBA and is in the D-League. Then you got Jerikas Bradley, who's all-conference. Tyler Stone, all-conference. Nino Johnson, just the sky's the limit for that. He's playing in the G League, right?
Yeah, no, those guys are all making really good money playing basketball. Actually, before the game Saturday, Antonius Cleveland texted me and said, "Coach, good luck. Go get one today." So I actually built a relationship with him from playing against him as a freshman. We had been talking ever since, and everything works and everything's connected. But he texted me before the game and told me to go get a win. And
he's a great kid.
He really is a great person. Now he's a father.
Well, speaking of being a father, for those who don't know, anybody who's around after a game is over and people will get out on the floor and things like that, they see these 3 cute little girls, triplets.
Yes.
You have triplets who are getting ready to turn 2 years old. How does that work, and has there been any of that in your family tree on your side or your wife's side, and triplets?
Well, first, let me thank Dana. I don't know if anybody saw it, but I'm doing the radio on Saturday after the game, and one of my little girls she doesn't know any better. She's running over. She's like, Dad. And I'm like, I'm pointing over my family's. They're talking, and I'm just like, everybody like just pointing down, and she's like, I got her. And she grabs her, gets out of her way. Then my nephew comes over, he's yelling, Uncle Keith, and she does it again. She grabs him, and it's just I appreciate that. But no, we had no expectations of triplets. It doesn't run in the family. It's all natural. It was all, just a blessing from God. So it's a lot, but I tell you right now, my wife does a tremendous job, and obviously without her, none of this would be possible. She played basketball at the University of Louisville. She played in the national championship.
See, now you pronounce that correctly. It's not Louisville.
Right.
Don't be talking Louisville to people from Louisville.
I used to say Louisville, but now it's Louisville.
Yeah.
I am prepped on that, and I better get it right. But no, she takes care of home. She makes sure the kids are good and everything. So I couldn't thank her enough, and I wouldn't be able to do this without her. So she's played at a high enough level to where she understands what it takes to be successful in this business. So forever grateful with that. But I tell people all the time, like, they see my wife come in the game with 4 kids, and 3 of them are, there'll be 2 next month. I tell people all the time, I wouldn't, if this was flipped around, we'd be watching from home. She's got the energy and the calmness to just bring them. They sit, they're jumping around, and we get great help, and it's amazing, but it's been a blessing. And like I said, the triplets will be 2 next month, and they're nothing but a ball of joy.
All right, take us through the doctor's appointment. The day you had the ultrasound, and the doctor said, let me tell you what this ultrasound is telling me. There are 3 of them in there. Yeah,
well, we knew we were pregnant, and actually on Halloween morning, it was 2017, Halloween morning, my wife, she had some unexpected feelings or whatnot. So she wanted to go to the doctor and make sure everything was all right. But by this time, like I said, we already knew we had a baby on the way. And she calls me, and she's like, hey, everything's all right. I need you to come up to the hospital. So I let Coach Luss know. I said, hey, Coach, wife needs me at the hospital. So I'm going to head up. He's like, oh, go do what you got to do. So I'm driving up there. It's about a 10-minute drive. A lot of thoughts going through my head. I'm like, what's wrong? She said, everything's all right. Why do I need to come here? But I had been asking. I was like, man, twin boys would be nice. That'd be fun. We had 3 boys and, be done with it. So I get there, and I walk in, and she's laid down, and the nurse is like, okay, let me show you the babies. And I said, babies? And she's like, 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, I almost pass out because, I cannot believe that my wife is carrying 3 babies. And, did she do it? She was amazing. 35 weeks, she held them to the end, and it was tremendous. It couldn't have went any better for us. And the biggest thing was we knew we had to adjust with our son, and we had to make sure we can give him the same attention. But it helped him grow up fast. As soon as they were born, he was like, yep, I'm ready for the potty. I'm out the way. And so that was good for us. And like I said, love my wife, and she's been tremendous in that regard.
So the interesting thing is now, when you go on road trips and you want to bring your kids home something, you can't come home with 1 thing. You can't come home with 2 things. You got to come home with 4 things.
So funny you say that. The other day we had old bobbleheads. It was bobblehead night, but we had the old ones in the office. So I grabbed 1, and I was like, I better grab 4 because there's a bunch of them. So I take 4 bobbleheads home. In a matter of 30 minutes, 2 of them are decapitated. And it's like these things are gone already, and they're throwing them, they're pulling the springs, they're hanging out of the head, and it's like, and now then my son gets a new one Saturday at the game, and it's broken already, and he's like, Daddy, do we have any more bobbleheads? I'm like, actually, I have 1 more in the office, but I said this one will not be played with. We're just going to sit it up, and you can just look at it and bobble the head when you want to, but, if we sit it out, it's going to be broken.
It happens quickly, too. Wait, I turned my back for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Where'd the head go? And one thing I did want to we'll talk with Brady Barkey certainly about this. How cool is it, because I know the men's basketball team supports the women's basketball team, and they get there early. They want to watch the women play prior to, and they're sitting in the stands, whether we're on the road or whether we're at the Show Me Center. How cool is this thing that Rika Patterson's team is doing?
It is, and it's amazing. And I'm a big fan of hers. I actually learn a lot from her. Like, I pick her brain a lot. It's a thing that I do. I take advantage of it because she's very smart. She's very well thought out, and she knows what's going on. She's won at a high level, and so she's a national champion. So I'd be shortchanging myself if I didn't pick her brain. From being in the office, tight office space.
So you live up to your last name, Pickens. Your brain picking all.
I am trying to get as much information as I can, and when you got good people around, and she's been through a lot. She's been here for 5 years, and she's got 20 wins, and it's an amazing accomplishment. But she's built it, and she's done it the right way. So shame on me if I don't take the time to pick her brain, ask her questions, or maybe even talk some X's and O's with her. I mean, just whatever you can do to continue to learn, I'm all for it. And she's been tremendous in that regard of like helping me and not ever shying away from a conversation, whatever it may be. We talk it out, and I mean, it might be. Maybe she's picking my brain a little bit. I don't know, but she's, like I said, she's really good, and her team rallies behind her. They play really hard for her, really connected. It's a fun team to watch, and you just sit back from afar, and it could be a tie game or close game, and you blink and they're up 20, and it's like, wow, that happened fast, but it happens because they're so connected and they really care about each other. And when you got a team rolling like that, I mean, you better get out of the way.
And it's a fun style to watch, man. They want a track meet.
Yep.
Get it and go.
Mm-hmm. They're deep, and I mean, it's one of those teams where it's like everybody's starting to. It's almost like when you watch from afar, you're like, okay, they're starting to really, really believe like we're the best team in the league, and like these other teams are just in our way, and that's how they approach it. Like, they go about their business the right way. They're all dialed in, locked in, and the most important thing is they're having fun. And you hear after a game they come in with a win, and it's been 12 straight, something like that, 11 to 12 straight, and they're excited in the locker room, and that's how it should be. So big time for them, and I look forward to seeing them continue to win more games and hopefully make a push at the NCAA tournament.
SIU Edwardsville game, Coach. You win at 75-71. You went through a stretch there where you didn't have a field goal for going on 9 or 10 minutes. I mean, just this long scoring stretch. What do you do as a coach during something like that? Because that will involve different media timeouts. You know that all of a sudden, you're one for your last 10 or whatever. I mean, what do you say in the huddle? What do you do to try and kickstart something, maybe design a certain play? Hey, we got to get a field goal here. We need a bucket.
Well, the big thing is the ball was in the right hands. It was moving around. It was getting to the right people. And within that, though, we got to the free throw line. Like, so we were being aggressive. We were getting downhill, and we got to the free throw line, and we didn't come up empty. So we had possessions where it looked like we were doling out. We were using the shot clock, but we got fouled. We made free throws. So and then the biggest thing is we got back to the other end, and we were getting stops. So within that stretch, we actually grew out a 10-point lead, and we weren't making field goals, but we were getting to the free throw line, and we were getting stops. And if that's the mindset, we can live with that.
All right, you're getting ready to head to Jacksonville now. What's the timetable for Coach Ray? He's getting ready to come back now. The doctors are getting ready to clear him. Is that right?
Yep, Coach Ray will be back with us tomorrow, so we're all looking forward to that. And obviously, we hate to see that he went through that, and he was very ill. But, he'll be back tomorrow, so we'll be ready to get it going.
Anybody who has had actual influenza, that's not, oh, man, I got the stomach flu. That's not what this is. This is not a stomach thing. This is influenza where you are, I mean, it doesn't last as long as mono does, but, I mean, you are just a miserable human being if you actually have diagnosed influenza. As you get ready to head out on the road trip, it's going to be the 7-hour bus ride down to Jacksonville, Alabama to play the Gamecocks on Thursday, and then it's up to Cookeville, Tennessee to take on Tennessee Tech. Two teams that you've played. You have a win over Jacksonville. You lost the game against Tennessee Tech. But Jacksonville is a different animal down there, and they want to make it a street fight.
Yeah, we just beat them last week. So, they'll be ready to go. It's my scout, so I'll be watching film religiously to make sure we're prepared. Obviously, coming up this past weekend, I watched their games, rewatched the game we played against them, and just see what spots we can hit and where we can connect. And biggest thing is if we go there and we play the brand of basketball we just played this past weekend, playing hard, playing together, we play tough, we play confident, we play poised. If we do that on a road trip, I like our chances. So it's more about what we do, less about what Jacksonville State does, in my opinion.
We did not ask you the name of your triplets.
Kaya, Chloe, and Kimbry. And my son's name is Caden.
So at what point could you tell them all apart, or could you tell them all apart immediately?
I still struggle.
Okay.
I still struggle sometimes. Two of them, they were all in their own sacks, but two of them look really, really similar. And, we're just starting to identify maybe a little freckle here or something like that that we can tell them apart that quick. But some days you wake up and you look at them, you're like, okay. And then one of them has a birthmark on her back, and I'm like, all right, let me lift her shirt up and see who it is. But it is one. And then our other, Chloe, she looks more like Caden, so she looks totally different. But the other two, I mean, they really, really look alike.
All right. Can anybody on the team currently beat you in a dunk contest?
No. No.
And if you follow Coach Pickens on Twitter, and you need to, he's always posted videos of a new dunk. How do we follow you on Twitter?
It's just _ Coach Pickens. I mean, it's simple.
That's
Coach Pickens. Yep.
Okay.
But no, we have some really athletic guys on our team. Sage and Nana, those guys. We like to have fun. We get in the gym, and maybe after a workout, we jump around. And I like to keep it. I like to stay youthful. I like to keep my body fresh. And then I like to spend that time with the players on the floor, so they enjoy it. But dunk contest, I don't know. I like my chances.
All right. You're gonna bet. You're gonna bet on yourself. I don't blame you, Coach. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll look forward to heading down to Jacksonville on Wednesday.
Thank you. Thanks for having me,
Coach Keith Pickens. We'll take a timeout. The athletics director at Southeast Missouri State, Brady Barkey, is here. We'll get an opportunity to talk with him. And, man, oh, man, you talk about sports going on right now. We've got both basketball teams, baseball and softball opened up over the weekend. Much to discuss with the Red Hawks AD. Brady Barkey joins us after this. It's the Red Hawks Coaches Show from Wings, Etc. on SEMO ESPN. Next week will be our final basketball coaches show, and it will be in the Cape Girardeau Wings Etc. location. And then we'll take a little bit of a hiatus, and then we'll get back to it at Wings Etc. starting in Cape with the spring portion of the coaches shows, where we'll start talking about spring sports. And we can always talk all sports with this guy, Brady Barkey, who is the Director of Athletics at Southeast Missouri State. You said yesterday the weather was so nice here that your kids were out playing basketball in shorts and short sleeves.
Yeah, after 20-degree days, upper 50s feels like 80. So my daughter actually came out in flip-flops thinking it was summertime. But, yeah, it was nice to finally get them out of the house and let them run around a little bit. They slept a little better last night.
Nate Savarino sent out a tweet the other day about after the doubleheader sweep of the basketball teams about fall sports conference victories. You probably know the stat because you are the Director of Athletics, but what exactly record has been set this year by athletics?
Yeah, I know the stat because Nate told me the stat.
Okay.
That's the only reason. And prior to that, he was the only person to know the stat.
Nate and Dana are here in the house, by the way.
Yeah. No, if there's ever some obscure statistic, he's usually the one that has researched it and figured it out.
Now, remember, he used to be in sports information, so, I mean, he's a stat guy.
Yeah, he can't divorce himself from that. So, no, through basically this past weekend, our fall sport and winter sport teams have combined for the most victories, most OVC victories that SEMO has ever had through the winter, and since we've been Division I and in the OVC. So, yeah, winning's fun, and we've been doing a lot of it lately. So it's been a really, really fun academic year.
I thought it was cool. You had all the student athletes and the teams at the Show Me Center, and they were all, marching through as you're honoring the student athletes. And I see the football team, champs. I see the soccer team, champs. I see the softball team, champs. Women's basketball, they're going to make a run.
Yeah, no, it's something special's going on. And the two things. Number one, what you're talking about there, the academics. I mean, you look at the number of student athletes we paraded around that court, recognizing them for their success in the classroom. And we don't talk enough about it, but that's no joke. That's more student athletes on the commissioner's honor roll from SEMO than anybody else in the league, and more 4.0 student athletes than anybody else in the league. And we actually offer kind of the fewest OVC sports of anybody in the league. So like we're handicapped to begin with, but we've got some really, really impressive student athletes getting it done in the classroom and obviously on the court and the field. And they're enjoying it. They're supporting each other. They, they like to be able to celebrate that success as much as they do their own. So it's a really cool culture that's going on right now.
How about this run the Red Hawk women's basketball team is on right now? 11 straight. Now, these are big, big, big games, especially that game Saturday at Tennessee Tech. I mean, they are really good. These are big games coming up for them. I don't know if they have to win out in order to, because Belmont does not have has a very easy schedule compared to UT Martin and to SEMO. They've got the toughest schedule. But what's your thoughts on what the women's basketball team has done? 11 straight wins, 20-5 is their record.
Yeah, they're really good. That's my thought. They're really good.
And trust me, they would have won the Eastern Michigan game had T.C. Thompson not been out with a concussion. They would have won that game.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Realistically, they could have several losses. Western Illinois wasn't a good one. There were a couple of games there too that, you'd probably like to have back and be healthy. But that's a team that's as deep as I've seen in this league in a while, as athletic, as we've seen, really kind of top to bottom. And there's some elite players. T.C. Thompson is really, really good. But it's the team, and there's so many weapons, and really, as I talk to ADs across the league, and that's the talk of women's basketball right now is our program. in the OVC and how we're playing, and they're like, man, you just have so many weapons. There's just so many people that can, get it done, not just on any given night, but just on any possession. And so it's a lot of fun to watch. The pace is fun. I think Rika's done a great job, with them. The culture of that program has gotten, so great that you can tell they play for each other and they enjoy, their time on the floor. They're going to be tough to beat. I know nobody's looking forward to playing them.
I was just going to say, however the regular season finishes out, who wants to match up with SEMO in Evansville?
Yeah, and, it's funny. I was telling somebody this the other day. The last couple of years that we'd gone to Evansville and we end up as a 7 or an 8 seed, and, of course, women's basketball has a different format than the men, and so you play the 1-8, 2-7 games. And I remember having conversations with those opposing coaches saying, you've got to help us get this tournament format changed because there's no business, having a 1 or a 2 seed playing SEMO in the first round because of how competitive we are, right? And so now it's like, well, shoot, now they're the 1, or the 2 seed, potentially 2 going into it, and we don't want to play them now either. So it's a team that nobody wants to play because they know how athletic and how dangerous they are, but they've done a really good job approaching it one game at a time, and you give yourself a best chance to win that game, and then see what happens.
You just better hope that you play them on a day where they're not hitting shots, because as good as they are in defense, if they're hitting shots, that's it.
All of them not hitting shots. Yeah. That's the thing.
That was the Murray State game.
Yeah.
They're just like, it was unbelievable. They just could not make a shot, and then this girl from Murray who had hit 2 3-pointers all season hits 4 in the game. Just like she probably has never hit 4 in any other game since then. So, you better catch them on a day where the ball's not falling, because with the way they play defense, you're just not going to beat them. Let's talk about the format. The format for the men in the OVC tournament, the top 2 seeds get double byes into the semifinals, and I think – did the women have that for a couple of years, and then they voted it down to where it's 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7? Why is the women's format different? Why did the women's coaches or athletic directors want a different format?
Well, it's funny because the same conversation is now taking place on the men's side because the thought was all along that, well, you want to do whatever you can to protect the top seeds, especially on the men's side, because of the money that's involved in the NCAA tournament and the revenue sharing that takes place. And so you want to make sure you've got your best team going to the NCAA tournament with your best chance to win units, which, of course, is then money back to the conference. And so, hey, let's create this double bye system to give them an opportunity to, be all the way to the semifinals.
And the OVC is not the only conference that does a double bye. There are other conferences that do it.
Right. And so then what unfortunately you saw happen a couple of times is where you get a team that's hot.
Austin P was an 8 seed and won it.
And they play a couple of games already. Their confidence is there. They're familiar with the venue and, kind of playing with that, hey, this is our last game potentially kind of mindset. And they come in and they upset a 1 or a 2 seed playing their first game in the semifinals. And so we've had some of those 1 and 2 seed, coaches and ADs that have said, hey, I'm not sure this is the right format, that we want to still do this double bye thing. And I think that's ultimately why the women don't do it, because I think that coaches, some of them look and say, well, look, a 1 seed playing an 8 seed, we get our first game out of the way, then you get a day off, and then you come back and play in the semifinals. That's a doable structure. It's different. I think it makes it, for more fun. I think it's better for the fans because they get to, come and enjoy the week as opposed to those 1 and 2 seeds that aren't playing until Friday. And so we'll see. It may change. Who knows? It's one of those crazy things about basketball is that, you've got a year where potentially there's several teams that could come and do it on the men's side, and that may change the conversation, again. And Rick Bird and some of those others that have been, in those conversations for so long, no longer here, maybe the philosophy changes.
What do you think of Evansville being the home for the tournament? Obviously, the Ford Center is a tremendous building.
I think Evansville has really embraced it. I think they've done a nice job trying to host that event. I think the Ford Center is, a fantastic venue for it. It's interesting that, of course, there are no schools in Indiana in the OVC. A Missouri Valley school
in the Missouri Valley
is
Conference.
there, which, maybe their fans will come and watch our tournament this year. I know they're having a rough year. But it's a good venue, and at the end of the day, if the fans come out and support it, and it's a championship type event, I don't care where they play it. But we just want somebody that wants us, and Evansville has shown that they do. And I thought last year, of course, Ja was maybe an exception to how that tournament normally would be, but I thought it was really successful and probably is what helped prompt them, wanting to lock us in for a few more years.
Yeah, I don't ever want to see a game inside Municipal Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee. All right, the spring sports are here. Softball just went down to Troy, Alabama. They got rained out yesterday, but they went 3-1, so they're off to a good start. Baseball went down to Monroe, Louisiana. They won one of their 3 games, and they'll be headed to the University of Kentucky tomorrow. Your thoughts here as we've started the spring portion of the athletic schedule?
This is where it gets really busy for the next several weeks anyway. The spring, I think, has the potential to be as exciting as the fall and the winter have been. You look at softball being picked to repeat as champions again. Track is always one of those programs that, if they don't walk away with a championship or 2, it's a down year for them. And I think, especially in the outdoor, I think they're, probably going to be a favorite to win. Baseball, if they can stay healthy, I really, believe that they're going to be one of those that are competing at the top in conference play. And our tennis program, we don't talk a lot about them.
They're at Mizzou today, right?
And yeah, they've unfortunately been battling that same flu bug that that Rick has. They actually had to move that match because when you've only got eight or 9 players, you get a couple of them to go down, and all of a sudden you don't have enough to play.
Sure.
But they're one that I think will be a top 3 program or so, and so. It's going to be a lot of fun to see. You hate to get ahead of yourself, but I think as we talk about the Commissioner's Cup and some of those things, I think we're going to give ourselves a real good chance, with what it looks like the spring could be.
New video board over at the softball complex.
Yeah, have you seen it yet?
I saw the video that was tweeted out by Coach Redburn.
Yeah, you'll have to go check it out.
I've driven by there as they were putting it up, and I saw it, kind of in styrofoam over, sitting in the parking lot, the video board. But I hadn't seen it. We were on the road, and so they just got it up. So.
Yeah, so it's up, and it got operational over the weekend. They've, the crew's been here working on it, and so that's going to be a really neat addition, and something that of course helps that program, in terms of recruiting and their ability to continue to be successful. And then here in the next month or so, we'll follow that up with one at Houck for football and soccer to be able to have, and so we'll replace that board and put a new one in over there that will be much bigger, much nicer than the one that we've got.
I think it's interesting. The softball team wins a title, and then facility upgrades. 2010, the football team won an OVC championship. The very next year, new turf, new video board. Baseball wins 3 straight OVC championships, all video board and new turf and big renovations. If you win, then I guess just coincidence that, you might get a little something extra.
Yeah, it's probably more than coincidence. There's probably something to it. But, that's part of it. That's part of playing the game, and you have to figure out how do you continue the momentum and, strike while the iron's hot. And that's one of those things that, we've eyed several of these improvements, and all of our programs have a list of things. And, you're trying to constantly prioritize and juggle what gets done when and where we're going to find the funding to be able to do it and whatnot. And this is one of those that with softball in particular, we said, hey, we need to get something done, but at the same time, let's continue to be able to invest. This is a program that we know that can be successful, for several years, to come, and we feel like we have the right staff and those types of things. And so, there's some strategic decisions in terms of when you make those investments and trying to juggle those priorities.
And for Red Hawk fans who maybe did not go to any Cape Catfish baseball games in the summer, Kappahaw is going to look completely different than when they went to Red Hawk games last year, where you could still drive your car up the first base side. It was just a mud pit. The whole hillside was all muddy. There was no home run deck. They were constructing. I mean, Kappahaw looks totally different when people come for a baseball game.
Yeah,
which by the way will be this weekend. They're at home this weekend.
Yeah. So we're hope for some good weather this weekend. No, it's going to be different. It's going to be very similar to how the Catfish games operated. For people that went to those over the summer, we will when the weather cooperates, we will charge admission for people to get in. We will still continue to have tailgate events at select games that'll be free for those in attendance. But then, we will have, a concession presence at all of our games that will have food and beverage, both soft drinks and beer sales, plus more ballpark type fare for people, so that, we're trying to, be able to make it what I think people would expect it to be in terms of a Division I, college environment. And so there's a learning curve that we're, of course, going to go through. But I think overall people have been receptive to it. They understand, that, with progress comes change sometimes. And so that's one of those things that we're trying to do. We want to make sure we maintain the atmosphere and kind of the uniqueness of what is Kappahaw. But it is going to be a little bit different for people, and so we're going to try and make it as great of an environment as we can. But there'll be some learning curves that we'll go through, and we may see something that we want to do different, or something that we want to change. But for the most part, I think people have understood it and been receptive.
All right, what's the most asked question that you get as the athletics director, and where does this question rank that I'm going to ask you now? What's the update on Houck Stadium?
Number one.
Okay, that's the top question.
Yeah. Right now. Well, now I don't know. People always like to talk about personnel and coaching things too, but the stadium has been the hot topic of late, just because they know that we need to make some improvements there, and it turns 90 this year, and I'm not sure we're going to have a birthday party for it.
Wow.
But it's old. And so we're continuing to work through, I think what we're going to anticipate is a capital campaign, and we're going to lean on the community, pretty heavily to try and get this, get this done. And it's not just something that, oh, hey, here's a bunch of bells and whistles we'd like to have. It's things that we need to be able to address in order to make sure we can continue to compete there as a soccer and football venue. And we've never done a campaign before. We don't know how the community will respond, but certainly I think now is the time, as you look at all the success that we're having and everything that we've done in terms of progress. If there's ever a time to do it, it's now. And so that's going to be a focus of ours, this year, and we want to make sure that we do it right. We got one crack at it, and so people will hear a whole lot more about it, coming up here in the near future. But it's not going away, and we want to make sure we don't find ourselves playing at Cape Central.
Because people don't understand.
Because the venue's condemned.
They will
condemn
like that building at some point, right?
Yeah. And again, people say, well, that's not our problem, that's your problem. Well, it becomes all of our problems when, that's what we're trying to do. And imagine Coach Tuke trying to go into a home and say, hey, we'd like for you to come and play at SEMO. And they say, oh, yeah. And they said, don't you play at a high school stadium? They say, yeah, we do, just like the one you're playing at. It doesn't work very well.
No.
So we're going to work on it, and I'm confident that the community enjoys the success we're having and is going to help us make that a reality.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you at the basketball venues and over at Capitol Hall Field.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
All right. That's the athletics director, Brady Barkey. Thanks to Coach Keith Pickens. Don't forget the Red Hawks are on the road. They are headed out to Jacksonville, Alabama, and that is going to be on Wednesday morning. They'll play Jacksonville State Thursday and then head to Tennessee Tech on Saturday. That's when we'll talk to you next. Stay tuned. ESPN Radio coming up. And don't forget our final basketball coaches show at Wings Etc. in Cape, and that will be next Monday. So long, everybody.